Friedrich Nietzsche created an idea so dangerous, so misunderstood, that it was hijacked by the most evil regime in human history. And the tragedy is, they got it completely wrong. The Ubermensch was never about racial supremacy or brute domination. It was about something far more radical, far more personal. Nietzsche imagined a human being who could stand alone in a universe stripped of all inherited meaning, and instead of collapsing into despair, this person would have the courage to build their own values from nothing. Create your own meaning. The Nazis turned it into propaganda. Hollywood turned it into a comic book villain. But the real Ubermensch, the real Overman, that idea might be the most important philosophical concept you have never truly understood. And by the end of this video, you will not only understand it, you will have to decide whether you have the courage to live it. Man is a rope tied between beast and Overman, a rope over an abyss. Let us walk that rope together. Before you can understand the Ubermensch, you need to understand the crisis that made it necessary. In 1882, Nietzsche wrote three of the most famous words in the history of philosophy. God is dead. Now, this was not an atheistic celebration. Nietzsche was not throwing a party, he was issuing a warning. For thousands of years, Western civilization had built everything on a single foundation, the idea that God existed, that morality was objective, that life had inherent purpose. But science, rationalism, and the Enlightenment had been slowly eroding that foundation, and Nietzsche saw what was coming. A world without a moral compass, a civilization with no anchor. Think about it, if there is no God, then who decides what is good and what is evil? If there is no cosmic plan, then what is the point of suffering? Without God, everything is permitted, and nothing has meaning. Nietzsche called this the death of God, and he predicted it would plunge humanity into centuries of nihilism, war, and existential despair. He was terrifyingly right, but he did not stop at the diagnosis. He offered a cure, and that cure was the Ubermensch. To understand what the Ubermensch is, Nietzsche first painted a picture of what it is not. He called this figure the last man. The last man is the person who wants nothing more than comfort, safety, entertainment. The last man does not create. The last man does not question. The last man simply consumes. Comfort over courage. As Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, we have invented happiness, say the last men, and they blink. That blinking, that smug, self-satisfied blinking, Nietzsche saw it as the death of the human spirit. The last man does not struggle because he has eliminated all reasons to struggle. He has made himself so comfortable that growth becomes impossible. Now look around you, endless scrolling, binge-watching, avoiding every discomfort. The last man is not a prediction, it is a mirror of our modern world. If Nietzsche's vision of the Ubermensch is resonating with you already, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of human wisdom with me. Because what comes next is the antidote to everything the last man represents. Nietzsche did not just critique humanity, he envisioned its greatest possibility. Nietzsche did not introduce the Ubermensch in a philosophical treatise. He did something far more radical. He wrote a novel. In 1883, he published Thus Spoke Zarathustra, a philosophical epic unlike anything the world had ever seen. Zarathustra is a prophet who descends from his mountain after 10 years of solitude to share his wisdom with humanity. Humanity is something that must be overcome. This is the core message, not that humans are worthless, but that we are unfinished. We are a bridge, not a destination. Zarathustra tells the people in the marketplace about the Ubermensch, about human potential beyond anything they have imagined. And what do? They laugh at him, they mock him, they demand the tightrope walker perform instead. The crowd chose entertainment over enlightenment. Sound familiar? Nietzsche understood something profound about human nature. Most people do not want to be challenged. Most people do not want transformation. The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Zarathustra learns that wisdom cannot be given. It must be earned through personal struggle. And this is where the Ubermensch begins to take shape. Here is where it gets truly dangerous. The Ubermensch does not simply follow a different moral code. The Ubermensch goes beyond morality as we understand it. For centuries, we have inherited our values from religion, from culture, from tradition. We were told what is good, what is evil, what is permitted, what is forbidden. Nietzsche called this slave morality, not because it was created by slaves, but because it keeps us enslaved. It keeps us obedient, predictable, controllable. Slave morality chains mind. The Ubermensch is the person who examines every belief they hold and asks one devastating question: did I choose this, or was it chosen for me? Most of what you believe about right and wrong was installed in you before you could think. Think about your deepest convictions, your ideas about success, about failure, about what makes a good life. How many of those did you actually choose? How many were simply handed to you? As Nietzsche wrote, "You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist." The Ubermensch creates their own values, and that terrifies people, but Nietzsche was about to go even deeper. The engine of the Ubermensch is what Nietzsche called the will to power, and this might be his most misunderstood concept of all. The will to power is not about dominating other people. It is not about conquest or control. It is about self-overcoming. It is the fundamental drive within every living being to grow, to expand, to become more than what it currently is. A seed does not grow into a tree because someone tells it to. It grows because growth is its nature. The will to power is that same force in human consciousness. The desire to overcome yourself is the highest form of power. Every artist who pushes past their limits, every thinker who challenges the accepted truth, every person who looks at who they are today and says, "I can be more," that is the will to power in action. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati. That one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. The Ubermensch channels this force not against the world, but against their own limitations. Overcome yourself. And to truly do this, Nietzsche devised the most terrifying thought experiment ever conceived. Imagine this: a demon creeps into your room in the darkest hour of the night and whispers to you, "You will have to live this exact same life again. Every moment, every joy, every pain, every heartbreak, every triumph, every boring Tuesday afternoon, again and again for all eternity. Nothing changes, nothing improves, the same life on infinite repeat." Would you scream in horror, or would you say, "Yes"? This is Nietzsche's test of the eternal return. It is not meant as a cosmological theory. It is a psychological challenge, a measuring stick for how well you are living. What if someday or night a demon were to steal into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, "This life as you now live it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more"? The Ubermensch is the person who can say yes, not because their life is perfect, but because they have crafted a life of such meaning, such authenticity, that they would willingly relive every second. The eternal return is the ultimate test of whether you are truly living. Most people would fail this test, and that failure should haunt you, because it means you are living someone else's life, and Nietzsche's darkest warning was about those who steal his vision. After Nietzsche collapsed into madness in 1889, his sister Elizabeth took control of his writings, and what she did next was an intellectual crime. Betrayal, distortion, propaganda. Elizabeth Forster Nietzsche was a committed anti-Semite and Nazi sympathizer. She selectively edited her brother's unpublished notes, twisted his ideas, and repackaged the Ubermensch as a racial concept. The blonde beast, the master race, the superior Aryan. Everything Nietzsche despised, his sister turned into his legacy. The bitter irony is staggering. Nietzsche explicitly condemned anti-Semitism. He broke off his friendship with composer Richard Wagner partly because of Wagner's racist views. He wrote, "I am not a man, I am dynamite." And he meant it as a warning that his ideas could be weaponized. The Nazis did not follow Nietzsche, they mutilated him. The real Ubermensch has nothing to do with biology, race, or genetics. It is about consciousness, about the courage to create meaning in a meaningless universe. The Nazis wanted obedient soldiers. Nietzsche wanted liberated individuals. But what does the Ubermensch actually look like in practice? In one of the most beautiful passages in all of philosophy, Nietzsche describes the three metamorphoses of the spirit, the journey every person must take to approach the Ubermensch. 1. The camel, who bears the heaviest burdens. 2. The lion, who fights for freedom. 3. The child, who creates new values. First, you must become the camel. The camel kneels and says, "Load me up. Give me the hardest truths, the heaviest responsibilities, the deepest suffering." The camel does not avoid pain. It seeks it out because it knows that strength is forged in fire. Then the camel must become the lion. The lion roars and says no to every duty imposed from outside. It fights the great dragon of thou shalt. Every rule, every obligation, every inherited belief that was never chosen freely. The lion destroys the old morality to make space for something new. Camel, lion, child. But the lion cannot create, only destroy, and so the lion must become the child. The child is innocence and forgetting, a new beginning, a game, a self-propelled wheel, a first movement, a sacred yes. The child creates new values from pure joy, from play, from the innocence of a mind unburdened by what came before. This is the path of the Ubermensch. So what does the Ubermensch look like today? It is not the billionaire. It is not the celebrity. It is not the strongman or the politician. The Ubermensch is anyone who has the courage to define their own existence. It is the artist who creates not for fame, but because they must. It is the thinker who questions every belief society hands them. It is the person who looks at the absurdity of existence and instead of despair, chooses creation. The Ubermensch does not wait for permission to live fully. They do not outsource their morality to institutions, to traditions, to algorithms. They sit in the terrifying silence of a universe without built-in meaning, and they write their own. To create yourself is the greatest act of rebellion. Most people will never do this. Most people will live and die inside a value system they never examined. They will follow rules they never questioned, believe things they never tested. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. But you are watching this video, and that means something inside you is already asking the dangerous questions. But Nietzsche left us with one final warning, one that most people forget. He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. The path of the Ubermensch is not safe. Nietzsche himself went insane. He pushed so hard against the boundaries of human thought that his own mind could not sustain it. The line between genius and madness is thinner than you think. Creating your own values requires confronting the void, the terrifying emptiness where God used to be, and not everyone survives that confrontation. The Ubermensch is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. But here is the truth Nietzsche understood better than anyone. The alternative is worse, living as the last man, comfortable, safe, and spiritually dead. Courage over comfort, always. The Ubermensch is not a destination you reach. It is a direction you choose, every day, every decision. Every moment you choose creation over consumption, courage over comfort, authenticity over approval. You take one step closer to the Overman. Become. Nietzsche saw something the rest of the world was not ready for. He saw that the old foundations of meaning were crumbling, that God was dead and we had killed him. And instead of mourning, he asked the most courageous question in the history of philosophy: now what? Now what? The Ubermensch is his answer, not a master race, not a tyrant, not a comic book villain. The Ubermensch is you, the version of you that stops borrowing beliefs and starts building your own. The version that can stare into the infinite void and say, I will create my own meaning here. One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. You have that chaos inside you. The question is whether you will use it or let it consume you. If you made it this far, comment Overman if you are ready to stop being the last man and start creating your own values. The wisdom of the ages is yours. Use it well.